good luck finding your way into this episode. Actually, I'm even wondering like whether you should sit there or not.
Do you want me to leave?
No, I do not want you to leave.
I could go scroll on my phone for a bit. Like, that sounds so fun.
I feel you would prefer that more than this episode. But so strap in. I'm going to give you is it a content warning or an emotional content warning? If you want to have a happy day today, this is probably not the podcast episode to listen to. But if you want to connect and remember somebody special in your life, and talk about emotions, which I love talking about, then stay listening. So I've always counted myself really lucky by having a handful of best friends in my life. Very fortunate. I find so many people don't even have like really one best friend. And I don't know how many of our DMs you read, but I always get DMs from people saying, oh my God, I feel like we could be best friends. Do you get that?
I don't read them.
So I get that a lot, and a lot of people like, I don't have a best friend. I feel like you and I could be best friends, and I never, I just like it. I never respond like, I've got too many. I can't have any more.
Well, how many best friends do you have? What's the difference between friend? Because you are funny about calling anyone your friend.
Yeah.
So do you have?
So I would say like,
do you know what I mean? I just call a lot of people my friend rather than saying you're my best friend.
Yeah, there's friends, there's all of those people, but like my best friends, and so there's like Karen is my ride or die best friend. We've been besties since we were 4. And she listens to everything and anything's always there for me, in a million different ways. Then there's, Renee. Then there was, that's sad to say. Then there was Steph, who I just want to say, I just lost my best friend. Oh my God, it started already. Fuck, I didn't think it was going to. And this is, I think, how, I guess, grief kind of hits you, if you will. Like, it's at moments you don't even expect. And look, I know you always said that I'm weird with death and how I look at it.
Well, you always celebrate death. Like, I remember when Grandma died, we were all sad as a family, but you were like, no, we should be celebrating her life rather than sitting in our sadness.
Yes, which is still my mantra now. But oh God, this is going to be hard.
That's all right. Take your time.
My best mate, Steph, so about 5 years ago, she called me in a hospital bed. She goes, I need to tell you something. She goes, I'm in hospital. I've had all of this pain. And she was kind of a big girl. And this is the fuck thing about, knowing your body. She kept going to doctors all the time saying, I'm in so much pain. I've got a bad back. I've got a bad neck or whatever, blah, blah. And they would say, yeah, you just need to lose some weight. You need to eat healthier. She ate healthily. She was an executive producer in marketing events industry with me way back 15, 20 years ago. And she was so active and she always just got on with the job, but she did it in pain. People said, I just got to lose weight, but she was physical and she ate well. So it never really made sense to her. Anyway, one night I'll never forget it, she called me and she goes, I need to talk to someone. She goes, I'm in hospital and I just overheard the doctor and the nurse saying how much that I'm riddled with cancer. She goes, they haven't told me yet, but I just overheard them. And I was like, oh fuck. And I remember just like hearing her out. She was pretty upset, obviously. And I was like, oh, well, bitch, we'll get him to do a PET scan and we'll figure this out and we'll do it. We'll go through the treatment, whatever, blah, blah. And I remember at that moment, it was always what I thought she needed as a friend versus the impact of that news and what it had on me. And they gave her something crazy like 12 months. They said it's terminal. And for her, she was like, this I feel I've had for such a long, long time. And doctors and everyone would just say, oh, you need to lose weight. But it was like, really, her body had cancer and she was unwell. And it was probably the reason why she was probably struggling to lose weight and was in so much pain. And over the years, her condition got worse. And this year, she came to my 40th and she was really unwell, and that was in January. And I remember sitting there and she was sitting at my table, and I remember looking across at her and I was like, fuck, She is going through it. You could see that she was in one of the worst places I think imaginable that a person could be in. And I remember looking around the room and I was like, fuck, she's in pain. I could just see she was fighting so hard to just sit there at a table. And you could see, like, you know, friends are talking to her and just having a chat. And you could see she was like, I just need to sit still. And she came up to me, kissed me and said, I need to go. It was not long after that, maybe about in March, April this year, not long ago, you know, she said, honey, it's time. We need to have a chat. And I organised, and I knew what that meant, so I organised a picnic with my boys and Marcus, and we went to the Botanical Gardens, right? And I'm doing this to honour a best mate, because I promised her that she could come on to our show, which I remember saying to Luke, and Luke was like, I don't know about that, which is so you, right? But I said I would love to give Steph an episode. Like, she's been given, you know, a deadline. Oh my God. She's been given a date, pretty much. She was told she won't make it till Christmas. I said, can we let her have her own episode? I would love to have two friends talking to each other about what it's like to have to say goodbye. And Steph was really interested in doing it, but clearly her health was just far, far greater and far more important and stopping her from being able to come here and do it. So we go along to the park one day. It was beautiful. She looked really unwell. And there was a moment I said, Marcus and the boys, it's probably time for them, you know, to go. The boy, you know, Bobby Becker was fucking eating sand and trying to kill a magpie or whatever. And so they went. And this was the start of the end of our friendship. And the problem with this scene, and if I can paint it for you, this scene was beautiful. There was two friends sitting on a park bench. It was autumn. Leaves are falling. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And there was people around kicking balls. And she said, honey, they've said, I'm not going to make it. You know, they've said, no, enjoy. I need to just enjoy the rest of my days. There's no more treatment for me. They're just going to manage my pain when they have to. And I said to her, what can I do as your best mate? Like, what is it I can do for you? And she said, just two things. One, don't forget me. And number two, please always make sure I'm invited to the party. And I started bawling my eyes out. And when I think of that scene, I'm like, the problem with it was the conversation we had saying goodbye to each other as friends.
But even that terminology, you can stop saying. It's not the end of the friendship.
Well, no, the end of the friendship in how we
saying
know it.
that puts an end to it. It doesn't have to be ending.
No, I know that. And it's the end of the friendship of what we have living together every day. And I'm a big firm believer in we don't know. No one can tell you what's next. All we know is what we've got now. So that's what I focus on. Not that, are you going to go to heaven and fucking be with your old pet rabbit that you loved? We don't know that. What I know now is what we have together. And so that's what I mean. For me, that's the end, right? Because we don't know what there is after it. I've got our memories. I know exactly what I should say and do in any situation. I've got all of that. But in terms of our time together, it was gone. And I thought, this is a conversation that I feel like 90-year-olds should be having. Not to a 39-year-old and a 40-year-old friend having to say goodbye to each other in this setting. It was the most beautiful setting. But I was like, this is something you should watch on a movie. The conversation was beautiful. But I was like, what's wrong with this picture? We should be 90. We're all in our late 80s having this conversation, not at this age. And, you know, from that started to become downhill. And, you know, Steph and I, in her health, you know, I started texting her every day. I was acutely aware of what the reality was. And, you know, Steph and I knew each other. She was a formidable, I want you to know, like, she was the strongest, toughest bitch in the events industry. She was a great producer. And then over the last few years, I shared this story the other day, and Luke, you'll go, that's so wrong, you shouldn't be doing it. Or maybe you'll go, I appreciate it as a friend.
But also when you're saying bitch as well, it's a very endearing way you're saying bitch.
Yeah, that bitch was she was tough as fuck. She was like ride or die. She spoke a very colourful language like me. You know, she's the type of person that, there's stuff I obviously can't say, but she's the type of person I'd call and I'd go, I'm going to kill this person or I'm going to have somebody killed. And she'd go, good idea. And then, and she'd make, and that would, her response would make you go, maybe I shouldn't. Right? Like she'd make you think about what you actually said. And I feel she was the angel, but the devil on my shoulder at both times. Like, and I can categorically go, what would Steph say? And she was so clear. You knew exactly what she would say in any situation. And during COVID, Luke, you worked at a hospital. It was when she was having neck operations and everything. And I told this story at her funeral the other day. And her family were wetting themselves because there was all these photo montages that were coming up at her funeral. And one of them was me and her sitting out eating lunch at the hospital with her neck brace and everything on. And they were like, oh my God, they were the COVID days when she was having that. That was when it all started. I said, yeah, I used to sneak into the hospital. And they were like, what? They're like, we couldn't even get into the hospital. And I said, yeah, I tried to get in a few times and security, I could never get through and pass them. And then I looked around one day and I just observed the type of people that were walking.
Did you steal my scrubs?
No. Oh. That would have been easier.
Apart from it saying Royal Melbourne and another hospital.
So one day I was like, fucking, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get dressed in a really smart outfit. I'm going to look like a young professional fucking doctor and I'm going to walk straight to this fucking hospital and no one's going to stop me. So I come back and I'm walking through and this person turns around and says, excuse me, who are you? And without a beat, I went, I'm Dr. O'Halloran, thank you very much. Who are you? And they went, oh, sorry. And then I walked up the stairs and I get into her room, right? And I went, Steph, they think I'm a doctor. And she was like, shut up. And I was like, I'm serious, right? So then for ages, I kept going back in. People thought I was Dr. O'Halloran. I would ask to read her chart, get notes and stuff on her. People would offer it to me.
So bad.
Is it? Is it? No, that's what a best friend is. Bad for somebody that works in a hospital, but that's what a best friend fucking does, right?
And at the point it's at, like, who cares anymore about
I didn't
these
fucking
rules?
care.
Yeah.
She loved it. She needed somebody by her side. She was getting told each day, oh, we've now found cancer here in your body, right? She needed somebody like me to get up there and be like, oh my God, like, I'm lying to them.
However, you're sneaking into a hospital during a pandemic.
Yeah, couldn't care less.
So we're working in a hospital, this is not what you wanted.
We'll do it again, right? And then there was times I was like, fuck, I need to change it up. So then I used to get in high vis and pretend I was a construction worker as well, moving around, right? And she loved seeing me come through the doors. It was great.
You legit had a wardrobe downstairs.
Practically.
Full of scrubs, though.
I know. Why didn't I ever wear your scrubs?
I would have killed you if I saw you
I'm
wearing
going to do
them.
that next time. If anyone else needs me to sneak into a hospital, I'm going to wear Luke's scrubs.
I don't have any anymore.
You know, and so I said to Steph, as time started getting closer, it was her birthday recently in May. We went out and I said, all right, let's do it. Let's write the fucking bucket list. And, you know, as Luke said before, the way I look at death is it's got absolutely nothing to do with me. I find it quite selfish of people when they lose somebody else, they're losing somebody in their life, they start making it about them. Like, I'm like, no, my life's fine, right? Like, I'm going to miss having them around, but this is this person's life that's about to end. So I always tried to make sure that Steph felt seen and heard. Now, she said things and I helped encourage them. That some of them I was like, oh, Steph, I don't think we can do that. And she was like, Scott, I'm dying. I think I can. I was like, all right, it's your life, right? Like, sure, we'll do it. And the way I wrote this bucket list with her was, I went away and I went, I'm going to do them all as IOUs. So I wrote them all on Post-it notes. I owe you. I think I can share this one. Yeah, I'm going to share one. Actually, this is really beautiful, right? Beautiful.
Share 3. We can edit it out later, maybe.
Okay, so one of them, I remember Steph said to me one day, and this was heartbreaking, when she found out she was really unwell and dying, terminal cancer. She said, no one's ever going to love me again. And I went, whoa. I said, Steph, do you know how many people love you? I said, bitch, you're fucking... Your understanding of the word is incorrect. I said, because so many people love you. I said, if you're talking about whether somebody's going to fuck you again, that's something different. I said, because a lot of people love you. You got a lot of love around you. She's got the best siblings, family, friends, support network. I said, a lot of people love you. I said, but if it's about sex, we can fix that. It's called an escort. And she was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going there. And so I said, in her bucket list, one of them was to find an escort. Now, that didn't mean to book them, but it was let's go looking online to find a hot escort that you could shag if you wanted to. So one of her IOUs is I owe you an escort search session, right? So then there was all these other ones that she did share with me, right? That I now, after her funeral, I said to her friends and family, you know, oh my God, I wrote all of these IOUs, which was her bucket list. They're like, I didn't know she did one. And I said, can you find it at her house? Because I'm going to give one to all of you, and we'll all do it together in her name. And then I just got a message the other day saying yes, she we found it, and we'll give it to you or whatever. The most insightful thing was I got a message saying, hey Scott, it's Becky, stepsister, it's time, you need to come into hospital. This was on the Monday. She passed on the Thursday. And I walked into the hospital, and Luke, you know me, and sure, people that work in hospitals might not fucking like what they're about to hear, but guess what?
At least you looked good in your suit and everything this time.
Well, I didn't wear a suit. I think I ran down. Like, it was like 5 minutes away from the house. So when you get told it's time, it was time. And I get there and I said to the family, you know what's going on? And they said, we're not sure. But she's taken a turn for the worse. They said they've done some bloods. We're waiting on the results. I said, when did they do the bloods? They said, like 10 a.m. this morning or something. I went, it's fucking 5 p.m. What did they put urgent on it? They're like, oh, we don't know. And I'm like, are you comfortable if I go and ask? And they're like, yeah, sure, please, thank you. They're like, oh my God, you can tell, you know, some people know what to do, and some people are probably, I think, jarred with their situation. And so I went out to these nurses and I was like, hey, where are the bloods? When are the blood results coming back? And they're like, oh, we're not sure, we're waiting on them. I said, well, when were they taken? They said, 10, 11 o'clock. I said, did you mark urgent on them? And they said, yeah. I said, shouldn't that then be a turnaround like in 3 hours? And they went, yeah. And I was like, it's 5 p.m. Let's get the blood results. You could tell one bitch nurse was like, don't fucking like this guy on my ward already. And I was like, guess what, bitch? I don't care, because I'm her best friend and I'm going to ride your ass to make sure she gets what she needs. Anyway, bloods come back straight away. And later that night, they come around and they talk about, these were some amazing things that's happened. They talk about the drugs that they're changing and they're giving her. And Steph said to me, she said, and she was in and out of a conscious state. It was really confronting. And she goes to me, I know what that means. When they were talking about the drugs that they were giving her, she literally said to me, I know what that means. I said to them, can you explain them what drugs are giving? Because I said, has she had the oxycodone before? And they said, yeah, Steph, you've had that the last 4 nights. Let's start with pain. And anyway, it was the potassium that I actually found out is the one that she was referring to, meaning I know what it means when they start giving you potassium, which I found out at her funeral, and that gave me closure. Then this was really, really sad. I think it was night 2. I went back again. And she woke up really, really sad. And I could see, and I said, Steph, cry, mate. Let it the fuck out. And I was really, really loud. And everybody said, oh my God, everyone kept saying to me, she can hear you. And I'm like, even the dead can hear me. Like, you guys all probably just need to speak up. She can hear me because I'm being direct with her. And it was just me and her this night as well. And I said, she was crying, and I said, Steph, let it all out. What's up, mate? And she goes, I'm never going to read a book again. And I was like, oh my God. I went, well, I can fucking read a book. I said, I'll go find one, right? And I walk out of the room. I was like, I need a book. And these people were like, oh, go down here, you can find one. Anyway, I found a book and I went back to her and I was reading her pages or whatever to her till she fell back asleep again. You know, and then this bitch nurse who was just, I didn't fucking find her kind. She comes in one night and I'd said to Steph, I said, and bleep this out. I said to Steph, that out there, I can't fucking stand her. I said, I'm not going to cause trouble with her because she's your nurse, but just know I don't fucking like her, right? Anyway, she comes in later on And she says, oh, Steph, I forgot to give you some Panadol or something. I was like, because she needs Panadol, right? She goes, I forgot to give you this earlier. So, I'm just going to take it out now. What's the difference between half an hour? And I'm like, oh, I hate her, right? And then she goes, you're probably never going to book this hotel again, are you? And I couldn't help myself. And I said, yeah, me and Steph were talking about you and your hospitality. We're definitely not fucking coming back here. And this lady looked at me and I was like, fuck off. Then Steph went through something which was the most traumatic, confronting experience. And a lot of people have said to me, I think you were the right person for her to go through it with. And she was so uncomfortable and she was fighting to get out of bed and go to the hospital, go to the toilet. But she was on order with her family to not go to the toilet anymore. It's too dangerous for her to get up. Now, when I tell you, Steph's a big fucking girl and she was pulling herself out of this bed, cannulas were being knocked out. It was really uncomfortable for her. And I'm rubbing her back and I was like, honey, just go to the fucking toilet here. You've got a pad on. These people get paid to clean it up. Don't you worry. I've seen you do way worse. And she was just adamant. In that night, I remember leaving and I was so upset because I thought, maybe I should have gone, no, let her go to the toilet. Like, we're going to try and make her and help her get to it. And it was a 50-minute ordeal. And I had guilt attached to it because I'm like, she is fighting. She even screamed at a nurse, right? In and out of her consciousness or consciousness, I don't know if this is what you call it, cohesion. She said, I am a woman and you are a man. Take your hands off me. And I went, whoop. Steph's still here, right? I said it to the whole room. I was like, fucking, she ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
Was it when you were rubbing it back?
Yes, literally. Oh, no, but the man was like in front of her. But I was rubbing her back going, lay back down, Steph, right? Like, come on, honey. Anyway, then the next night she was far more deteriorated and I was playing Daft Punk in her room and all of her favourite tracks and I was telling her this, reminding her of some of the most fucked up stories of things we used to do and, again, I was more like, this is her life that's going, not mine. So I've got to do everything I can to make sure it is as comfortable and fun and positive as possible for her. Because I'm like, my pain will come after once she's gone. Hers needs to be comfortable and at ease. And then she passed away the next day and I was like, unfortunately, in my head, I'm like, she wasn't ready to go. She was still fighting so much the other night. And I felt really, really bad. And I felt all this guilt. The family asked me to do this reading at her funeral. It's really, really cool. It's pretty much the 10 rules of living life whilst you're alive. It's a poem. Anyway, but I read it and I was like, hang on, there's 11 points. She's added one in there, which I thought was really, really cool, right? And so I told everybody as I read it out, it's called the 10 like rules of living, but there's actually 11. So Steph has added one in here. I'll let you all try and guess which one was hers. And it was really, really cool and lovely. And the best thing about a funeral in Australia is you get party pies and sausage rolls. So tick, that was there, but also closure and understanding, because in it I found out about the potassium, that it was actually the potassium that is what is given to somebody for their life, like on their way out. And then I went, oh my God, that's what she meant when she went, I know what this means with the drugs they were giving her. So Steph was a producer. Everything was done to the minute in detail, right? She actually was told, and this was her brother that read this out in one of her eulogy, that somebody who survives cancer after 5 years of having it ends up like what's the word, like surviving it. Somebody who battles cancer for 5 years survives it. The night where she was fighting, oh my God, it made so much sense. Because when I say she was fighting, like I was like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable to watch and witness. It was just me, her, and these nurses in the room. That was her 5-year anniversary of being diagnosed with cancer. So she wanted to make the next day so she can go, look, I survived the 5 years, or I fought it, which made, and it was in her calendar, her family found that these dates and big milestones were in there for her. So I'm like, I felt this closure of going, oh my God, it wasn't that she was fighting, that she needed to go to the toilet or that, you know, or I was in her way. It was that she was like, I've got to fucking stick around to meet my own personal milestone, which was the closure I think as a best friend, you know, I needed. That it was like, good on you, mate. You did 5 years of cancer, and I don't think we ever knew how much pain she was in. I don't have any regrets in our friendship. We shared everything and anything together. The best thing that she ever gave me was maybe about not even 2 months ago, around at her house, and I'll close it off with this because this is the type of person she was. I went around there and I was sharing my problems with her, as you do as a best mate. She wasn't just a good listener, she heard you. And I was sharing some heavy stuff that was going on in my life. And she got up. This is a chick with terminal cancer, a cane, right? She's dying in 6 weeks' time after this. She gets up, walks to her room, she comes back, and she had ADHD pills. And she put them down in front of me and she goes, Scott, sort your fucking life out. And I just laughed and I went, mate, you're dying of cancer and you're telling me to sort my life out? She goes, yeah, you're pretty fucked up, mate. And then I just remember laughing my head off. We hugged it out. I drove home and I looked at these pills and I went, instead of taking them, maybe I should just get an ADHD, like, you know, doctor or diagnosis. Sure enough, I got diagnosed, sorting my life out, did that because she told me to pretty much, you know, she kicked me up the ass. And I just, you know, and I also I said to her how I would always make sure she was included on the party, which was my promise to her. She said, always make sure I'm invited to the party. I got VIP list and number 1 and her name and a tick next to it. So that was my honor to her. One thing I just need to make clear is make sure you have your funeral organised and you go out of this world the way you want to. She had a big say in it. So, and that was what I learnt in all of it. Make sure you're not alone. Have somebody by your side. And thank you, Steph, for being such a great friend.
For someone listening right now, they may have a friend that they don't know how to show up, or you're not someone to normally have regrets, but dare I say people could have regrets around a loved one dying. Have you got advice for someone right now? Or one day when a friend does tell them that potentially they are sick, what they should do?
I've said it, you said it. It's not your life, it's theirs. So if you can somewhat imagine what you would want on your last days or when you find out that information, what you would want is exactly how you have to show up for them. Because it's not you. Your life continues on. Theirs is going to stop. So what do they need? And then that's your purpose.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Oh my God, thank you for letting me. I wish she got the chance, and this is not a regret. I wish she had the strength, which she just didn't in the end, to come on here to talk about her diagnosis and her journey, you know, of cancer and what she'd gone through. But, you know, this is me still honoring her in that way. So thank you for letting me do it. Thank you for listening. And yeah, like this is life. It's life or death.
End scene.
Luke and Sassy.
Scott.
So Luke and I think it's really important that when you go to somebody's house, you say, thanks for having us. So we would like to say a big thank you to the Wurundjeri, Woi Wurrung and Bunurong peoples of the Southeastern Kulin Nation, the land on which this podcast is recorded on.
Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.